Bienvenido, clase. Bienvenido. Welcome back. It is I. I have returned. Hey, I hope that you guys had a great finish to your second chapter. We're going to start out with the next one here, working with Grammar 3.1, Reflexives. Reflexives are interesting types of verbs in Spanish because when working with a reflexive verb, they don't quite translate the same as they do in English. So they're very, very different. Probably one of the biggest things we're going to see about them is that they all have to use what we call reflexive pronouns in front of their conjugations. So let's just go ahead and dig right into it. The second we finish up with some explanation things and I show you a few grammar points, we're going to jump right into our vocabulary and see some sample sentences that show them in use so you would see exactly how they get used within sentences. So let's go ahead and begin. I should probably make this bigger here and we'll go ahead and begin. So reflexive verbs and pronouns. With a reflexive verb, the action reflects back on the subject. For example, I wash myself. Normally I just say I wash, but in Spanish that myself component is always included in the pronunciation. The infinitives have a se attached to them, like instead of lavar, it becomes lavarse. The se changes according to the subject of the verb. For example, normally with the verb lavar, you would just have lavo, lavas, lava, lavamos, lavais, and lavan. Well, like as in yo lavo, tú lavas, él or ella lava. So I wash, you wash, he or she washes. Well, if you are going to say wash your hands or something like that, you'd have to say me lavo los manos, okay? So I wash myself. Te lavas is you wash yourself. Se lava is he or she washes themselves. Nos lavamos. Now, it sounds weird, but it's we wash us, okay? Now, that's not meant to be any sort of group activity. It's just meant to simply describe that when we are washing in some way, that is what we are doing. And the nos part, although would seem awkward in English, is not considered awkward in Spanish. Os lavais is you all wash yourselves, and se lavan would be like they wash themselves, as examples. A couple other rules. Reflexive pronouns are placed before the verb or attached to an infinitive. What that simply means is that you might have a situation where the verb is, where the conjugation has it in a multi-verb sentence. When it's in a multi-verb sentence, sometimes there's an infinitive afterwards. When that happens, you have a chance to hook it onto the end. Show you what I mean. Lupita se levanta a las 10 porque le gusta levantarse tarde. Okay, so here is a two-verb sentence fragment here. Le gusta and levantarse. Two verbs are happening. One is she likes, and the other one is to get up. Okay, so to wake it. So levantar is to get up or to raise, but levantarse is to wake one's self up. So it changes the meaning a little bit when it's a reflexive too. For example, Lupita se levanta. Lupita wakes up a las 10. She wakes up at 10 o'clock porque le gusta, because she likes, levantarse tarde, because she likes to get up late, or she likes to wake herself up late. So there's an example of placing it either before the verb conjugation, and here's an example of attaching it to the infinitive. Before the verb or attached to infinitive. So you can only attach it to the infinitive if there's an infinitive that's part of the sentence. That's something to remember. Let's see. Let me move this out of the way here. Oh, and this is a little bit out of our way too. Let's see what I can do here. Good, I can make that a little smaller for us. Okay, when using a reflexive with a part of the body, use the definite article with it. The definite article, if you remember, is the word the, like el, la, los, or las. Example, me lavo el pelo. We would normally say in English, I wash my hair. But in this case, it reads, I wash myself the hair. So an awkward translation when taken literally. You'll definitely have to generalize the translation when working with reflexives. Con champú y las manos con jabón. Okay, so me lavo el pelo con champú y las manos con jabón, which generally translates to I wash my hair with shampoo and my hands with soap, or with hand soap. Gracias. Y bien, la próxima. Next item. We'll move this back in its normal little spot. And we'll move this up a little bit. Actually, we'll leave this right here. Vestirse is another example of an IR reflexive verb. Again, we have the same reflexive pronouns, me, te, se, nos, os, or se. We could still choose to use subject pronouns as well as object pronouns. I can still say yo me visto, or tú te vistes, or él se viste, ella se viste, usted se viste. So we don't disregard the subject pronouns. These are simply in addition to. So vestir is to dress, and then vestirse is to get dressed. Very slightly different, okay? So me visto is I get dressed, or I dress myself. Te vistes, you get dressed, or you dress yourself. Se viste, he or she gets dressed. Nos vestimos, we get dressed. Os vestís, you all get dressed. And se visten, they get dressed. As general ones. Now, often you'll notice that I don't always use all three forms. I don't say they get dressed masculine, they get dressed feminine, and you all formal get dressed. So I don't go over all three because 90% of the time this is referring to ellos or ellas. And 10% of the time will be the ustedes form. And plus you always have an option to use the vosotros form in place of ustedes, and so on and so forth. Okay? Continuing on, this is actually our last slide for this. Adverbs. Just a little addition to the end here. Adverbs often referred to as ly verbs, are words like typically, quickly, elegantly, interestingly, and so on and so forth. So in Spanish, we form ly verbs by simply changing it to a feminine form, if possible, and then adding the words mente to it. For example, típico, the word for typical, becomes típicamente. Rápido, meaning quick or rapid, would be rápidamente, for rapidly or quickly. Now you don't change something that ends in E to an A. So it's already gender neutral. So technically it's both genders already, and you don't have to worry about it. So elegante, elegant, becomes elegantemente. So it only changes to a definite A or a definite feminine form if it already has a definite masculine form. Elegante doesn't have it, so the change doesn't occur. So those are just three examples. Típicamente, rápidamente, elegantemente. We can choose other ones too. There are words like slow, which is lento, and you could say lentamente, which is slowly. There are other adjectives, and whenever you have one, simply change the O to an A if it naturally ends in an O, and add mente to it, and that would be the equivalent to an ly verb. Okay? Hopefully that introduces the material relatively well for you. Obviously, we're going to flesh this out in much greater detail in class. I'd like to take a look very quickly at our vocabulary as well. Right, here we go. Very good. And here's some vocabulario. All right. First of all, talking about daily routine. And you can see some reflexives showing up there, right? Cepillarse, despertarse, levantarse, couple of ponerse la ropa, secarse el pelo, and so on and so forth. So, so you can start to see these reflexive used in language as well. Here we go. A veces is sometimes or at times. Acostarse is to go to bed. Bañarse is to take a bath. Cepillarse is to brush, so cepillarse el pelo would be to brush your hair. Cepillarse los dientes would be like to brush your teeth. El cepillo de dientes is a toothbrush. El champú is shampoo. El despertador, great word, is the waker-upper or alarm clock. El despertador is an alarm clock, but despertarse is to wake up or to get up in the morning. So el despertador is the waker-upper, or the getter-upper is another word for that. Despertarse is to get up or to wake up in the morning. El espejo is a mirror. Gastar is a great word. It means to waste, but not as in like to waste things. It's like to waste time. I suppose we'll have some situations where we use it the other way too, but like gasto horas en peinarme, like I spend hours or I waste hours you know, brushing my hair or something like that. So gastar is to spend time or to waste time. El jabón is soap. Levantarse is another word for to get up. Mirarse is to look at yourself. Normalmente is normally, an adverb. Nunca is never. La pasta de dientes is the pasta of teeth. Just kidding. It's toothpaste. All right, so pasta, paste. You can see that's a bit of a cognate, okay? So the paste of teeth or toothpaste. El peine is hair. Ponerse la ropa. I'm sorry, that was incorrect. El peine is a comb. My mistake. I was looking up here. I was looking at the word for hair up here somewhere. There it is, pelo. I was like staring at that word while thinking of this word. So yeah, el peine is comb. Ponerse la ropa is to put on clothing. Por lo general is generally. Rápidamente is quickly or fast. La secadora de pelo is a hair dryer. So pelo is hair, secadora is dryer. So the dryer of hair. La secadora de pelo. Secarse, to dry. Secarse el pelo, to dry your hair. Really drilling down on that hair drying aspect in this. Siempre means always. Great cognate. Great cognate. For those of you who are familiar with the USMC or United States Marine Corps, semper fi, always faithful. Semper, siempre, always. Típicamente, typically. Típico, typical. La toalla is a towel. Todos los días means all the time, but the literal translation is all the days, every day. Vestirse is to get dressed. Notice that it's an E to I stem changer, so you have me visto, me te vistes, se viste, and so on. Here are some example sentences for how some of your vocab and grammar comes together. ¿Cómo es un día típico? What is a typical day like? ¿Cuánto tiempo gastas en vestirte? How much time do you spend getting dressed? ¿Te afeitas todos los días? Do you shave every day? Por lo general, me despierto a las 8 y me acuesto a las 11. Generally, I wake up at 8 and I go to bed at 11. Generally, I wake up at 8 and I go to bed or to sleep at 11. Normalmente gasto mucho tiempo en vestirme. Normally, I spend a lot of time getting dressed. And the very last one is sí, siempre, which is yes, always. I've had a few questions about extra credit, and I know that I've pumped up the idea of us doing a little bit of extra credit. So I'm going to embed a little extra credit idea for you. For those of you who would like to earn a little bit of extra credit this week, I would like for you to make flashcards of all of the vocabulary that is in this video. So you would go back and you would put on the front side one Spanish word and on the back side the English definition and create those for class for this next week. You would show those to me on Monday if you're going to do it, if you're interested in earning extra credit. This has the great fortunate side effect of also helping you learn material. So we're not just doing it for the sake of earning credit or for the sake of just doing something extra. This is part of the learning process, and I hope that it helps you too. I hope all of this is helping you. I hope everyone's doing very well for the beginning of the school year. Almost ready to start looking at finishing out the first marking period. Keep up the good work. Hasta luego. Ciao y adios.